Hi, everybody. Welcome to our OT history video presentation. Let's go back in time and learn the importance of 1940 through 1959. When you're watching this presentation, everything, think about how this has changed OT as a perspective and the people that influenced OT today. And don't forget, sit back, enjoy, and grab some popcorn. And please make sure your phones are silent during this time. Thank you. What happened in 1940, you ask? The formal occupational therapy in Sigma changes to OTR. World War II efforts were in full swing. Based on this transition, occurred as the profession began shifting its roots in the arts and crafts movement towards a standardized medical focused framework. The need for occupational therapists were also doubled shortly after due to the fact of military and veteran rehabilitation. In 1942, USA was entering World War II. Based upon these factors, occupational therapists directed towards war efforts. The expansion of military hospitals, OT programs were also expanded to a wide range of disabling conditions and began to play a larger role within the field. Due to a high demand of OTs at this time, emergency courses were being offered at schools nationwide, consistent loads of a very heavy workload. OTs were also raised to be a professional classification. In the second photo is an influential person in occupational therapy and still is in today's society, Wilfred Kamen. In 1944, the Women's Army Corporation implemented the OTA training course. The new OTAs took on much responsibility at select hospitals, work on recreation and leisure-based programs. Based on this, the USA Army created fast-track emergency courses to train new therapists quickly. The military also published its first guideline to standardize therapy methods. The profession expanded worldwide, including the start of Australia's first official therapy group.
With the Second World War coming to an end in 1945, OT shifted its focus to veteran reintegration and rehab. 899 OTs and apprentices and 278 OT assistants worked in 76 Army hospitals across the country. At the same time, the government funded research in order to improve assistive device quality in prosthetics, and orthotics were gaining traction across the United States. OTs became heavily involved in the training needed for these prosthetics, including the strength, conditioning, and adaptive tools patients would be needing. By 1947, the fast-paced needs of wartime started to slow and occupational therapy began to form stable roots. Winifred Kamen, otherwise known as Winnie, was elected as the first president of AOTA. She had previously been known as the chief of the Surgeon General's occupational therapy branch. Under her leadership, the AOTA launched the American Journal of Occupational Therapy. Charlotte Bone was the first editor, and she had to say that the goal of the journal was to convey intent and purpose of AOTA and to house a space where ideas could be shared. At the same time, Helen Willard and Claire Spackman also released their Principles of Occupational Therapy textbook. The book started as a treatment for disabilities, but quickly turned into a book that represented different schools and geographic areas in order to cover the whole field of occupational therapy. The 1950s stood for a time of change, represented by economic expansion, new technologies, and a call for social reforms following the war. According to the History of OT video, OT was defined as interest-motivated activity with a therapeutic purpose, a controlled means for satisfying the physiological and psychological needs for activity. This therapy was prescribed by the medical officer to the occupational therapist to fit the individual physical or mental need of the patient. Although occupational therapists were still mostly found in VA hospitals under the direction of physicians, OTs did start to gain more technical care and specialization as the field was continuing to expand and carve its own path in healthcare. AOTA was growing quickly, both professionally and individually, and as a result, gave its first award of merit to Eva Otto Muschenheimer for her service to the association. Professionally, OT was expanding and had 7 educational courses in England and 1 in Scotland.
In 1952, occupational therapists entered the pediatric practice. During this time, there was a widespread polio crisis throughout the United States. To help, occupational therapists entered pediatric practice and worked with children who were affected by polio, as well as children with cerebral palsy. The interventions used by occupational therapists during this time included arts, crafts, and manual activities. These activities improved motor skills within children who were affected by polio, as well as children with cerebral palsy. In 1955, IOTA's first Eleanor Clark Sagel Award was given to Florence Stadel. This was given to honor her lecture on equipment design for occupational therapy. The lecture included an analysis on how the bilateral tilt table facilitated specific movement patterns and how it motivated the patient to achieve their goals. Additionally, during this year, IOTA's Medical Advisory Association was created. In 1958, IOTA adopted educational standards for certified occupational therapy assistants, also known as COTAs. This included the first OTA educational program for psychiatric COTAs. Also published the Guide for Development of Graduate Education Leading to Higher Degrees in Occupational Therapy.
In 1959, as the American Occupational Therapy Association was working on addressing global issues, occupational therapy practitioners and educators from the Philadelphia School, Helen Willard and Claire Spackman, helped found the World Federation of Occupational Therapists, and the American Occupational Therapy Association became one of the first founding associations of the World Federation of Occupational Therapists. After watching this video, here are 3 questions to consider. 1. How do you think World War II impacted the field of occupational therapy? What changes and developments occurred, and how have they impacted modern-day occupational therapy practices? 2. What do you think the role of occupational therapy assistants was during the 1940s and 50s? What changes occurred, and how did their role develop over this time period? How would you compare their role from the 1940s and 50s to the role of occupational therapy assistants today? 3. In 1952, what impact did the polio crisis have on the field of occupational therapy? Did this impact lead to lasting changes and developments in the field of occupational therapy today?